Hi, you're watching TechCrunch TV. I'm Colleen Taylor, backstage at Disrupt New York 2013, and sitting with me is Mike McCue, the CEO, founder of Flipboard.
Nice to be here.
Nice to have you back here. You just came off stage, so a little sigh of relief that your on-stage time was done. How do you feel like it went?
Oh, it was great. I really enjoyed talking to Eric, and I love having so many entrepreneurs in the audience. It's very energizing. I walked the floor before I came up on stage, and it was really great to see all these different companies, in the battleground, and other companies that have been around for like 30 years, like ESRI, and still going strong. And here at Disrupt, I mean, it's just a great mix of folks.
Right, absolutely. And there's one thing I want to get back into the startup world, and we'll talk about that later. But I just wanted to dig a little bit more into the magazines that people are creating on Flipboard. Are you seeing any particular trends, or what kinds of stuff? I guess you probably see it all.
It's so awesome. I mean, we've now got almost 1 million magazines that people have created. And we've only been out just for iOS. We'll come out for Android soon. So I'm sure those numbers are going to get much higher in the coming weeks. We have magazines that have been created around everything you can imagine. Like, for example, things that are like, city guides, for example, people have built magazines for, or horseback riding or mountain biking. And these things, my favorite magazines are the ones that are like a niche on a niche, right? For example, I mentioned on stage City Planners Gazette, which has got 22,000 readers, and it's put together by a guy who's an architect and city planner. And so I think people have 3 passions in life: their home, their work, and then something else, some hobby, something that they're really into. And that's what people are making these magazines for, right? They may be into scuba diving in, Bali, and specifically they're making a magazine about that, right? Or they're really into art, but in particular art in Barcelona, right? So I'm really into sailing, but in particular classic old wooden boats, So I have a magazine called Classic Sailor, and I have about 4,000 readers of that magazine. And these are all people that are really into classic boat sailing, and they reflip some of my content into their magazines, and I get a chance to see, what they're putting together. So it's just been amazing.
That's great. I was going to ask, what's your thing? I'm glad you volunteered, that classic vintage sort of sailing.
Yeah, cool. Love that. And I'm also into space. So, I wanted to be an astronaut when I was growing up. And so I built a magazine called Final Frontier. It's got like, I think, 9,000 readers. And, every cool article I see about space, I flip into that magazine. And so it's a great way to build an audience and a community around content about a very specific thing. And there's nothing really like that out on the web now. So, really excited about getting this to happen on mobile devices.
And you all talked a lot on stage about making money, about revenue, about advertising. And I thought you made an interesting point, because even though you guys are focused on advertising as being the prime way that you're going to bring in revenue, you're critical of the state of advertising as it is on apps nowadays. I thought that was interesting.
Right. Yeah. Advertising as it exists now in mobile isn't really going to work. It's not going to subsidize important journalism, and that needs to change because the whole world is moving to mobile. And so I think there's an opportunity to have more beautiful ads that are more of a full screen experience, that are more related to the content you're looking at, as opposed to these little banner ads that run at the bottom of a game that my daughter plays, and she's 7 years old and clicks on a Diet Coke ad or something, right? So purely by accident, right? So it's one of these things I think the industry as a whole needs to think through, because content, in order for great content to happen, it needs to be subsidized. It needs to thrive economically on these new mobile devices. And it's very important that we all figure that out together.
And do you think that Flipboard would ever be, because it's such a consumer-friendly app, but there are some of us who really read news and consume feeds as part of our jobs. Is there ever any thought at Flipboard about creating sort of an enterprisey version of
like a
what
Flipboard
you have?
Pro or something, right? Yeah. There's always this creative tension. A lot of people want us to build something that might be a little bit more power usery and scan lists of headlines more readily. And we're thinking about that. We have opted so far to be very focused on kind of just a mainstream audience. Basically like my mom.
Right.
and we want to have a nice kind of lean back kind of experience where you can discover this great content. That said, it's always on my mind. A lot of people are constantly tweeting about, wow, it'd be nice if it was more scannable, and so we've been thinking about that. We have some ideas there that you'll see us do in the coming months, yeah, it's an important area that we'd like to make sure we don't leave that audience out.
Good. Well, I'm glad I asked. I'll keep my eyes peeled for that.